All right, guys, welcome to what we have in store. And I have this gigantic list here, and I want to kind of go over this. This list is huge, and I kind of want to go over what we have planned and what kind of videos we want to do. A lot of these videos and tutorials are going to be a little bit tougher without being on the boat, but I want to get this list out there for you guys because I want you guys to have an idea of where we're going with this and what we have planned. All of these are nearly impossible to get done by the time the spring comes, but in the next 6 months, I want to get all these videos live up on the site. So I just want to read this out and see what you guys think of it. And if there's anything else that I'm missing that you guys really, really need help with, or just, a little nudge in the right direction or some reassurance that, this is what you need, let me know and we'll take care of it. So this is a simple list that I just keep notes myself when things strike me. And obviously we're going to elaborate on all of these, but let's start. Best times to target them: seasonally, moon, and the time of day and tide. That's one of the ones. What month do we typically start looking for tuna? When, do we start looking for tuna? What knots do you guys like? That's one of the other ones I put. I want to know what you guys like, what you guys prefer, and what's worked for you guys. Giant fishing, bait, how to target them. Trolling, we're going to get in a little bit of the trolling and why, when, and how. A loop knot. I was going to do some testing on a loop knot because I find it pretty interesting that nobody uses a loop knot for tuna. So I want to kind of figure out if it's going to work. Tuna meatballs. That's one of the other things. I wanted to do the recipe and teach you guys how I make tuna meatballs. And the family absolutely loves them. Assist hook theory, why we use assist hooks on jigs versus on the bottom. Let's see, slot size tuna regulations, what to do and when to do, and just kind of a little, a lot of times the regulations, there's a lot to take in. So I kind of want to go over the slot size and the tuna regulations for everybody if they're new to it. South, the size of the fish south versus east, east of the Cape versus south of the islands, yellowfin and bluefin. How to measure a tuna properly, right? That's another one. And how to bleed a tuna properly. How much meat is on each fish also. Weather, wind, where to go, and why. All of this is going to be based on almost like a thesis that I have, which I want to be your solution to your bluefin tuna learning curve. I want to take all of that out, and I don't want you to have a learning curve, right? Let's see, page 2. Pound test versus PE. Diameter, choose correctly, why, and how. How to wear a harness properly to fight a fish with, either a giant, harness lugs, or a spinning rod harness, but how to wear one properly, right? Where to hold the rod. Might sound easy, but this is part of, don't tire yourself out. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint that we're in. So how to hold the rod properly to apply the most pressure to the fish, okay? Without tiring yourself out, right? Power Pro versus Verivas. Very simple one. What people have used for years and years and years versus a high-end Japanese product, Verivas. Know your braid and how thick and how strong. If you want to get good at casting and you want to get dialed in on the casting, light tackle, top water, jigging game, leave all your other gear at home, your trolling rod and your bait rod. I was guilty of that for years and years because if I didn't find the fish or what I wanted, the first 2 or 3 hours, I would fall back. I'd either start trolling or I'd put bait out, right? And what I'm doing is I'm shooting myself in the foot there because I'm not giving myself ample opportunity to find what I need to find. And I'm just going back to what's comfortable and easy, right? Where's your splice? Where is your splice in your setup on your rod and how long should it be? Our tackle box, I already did that one. I took our bag, all the boxes are empty. I took our bag for this entire season and I emptied it and I wanted to show everybody what was in our bag. Splicing video, we did the splicing video where I wanted the video to come from behind me so you guys could see it from my perspective. This year, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing tuna classrooms on the boat. So instead of a charter, what we're going to do is we're going to have designated dates that we're going to open up before the season. I think we're going to do around 16 dates throughout the season from June to October, and we're going to have designated dates set for a classroom on the boat. And yes, catching fish is a priority on this, but it's opposite of what a charter would normally be, because normally on a charter catching fish is the main priority. This one is learning, teaching, showing, and then catching fish will just be the icing on top, right? That's what we're gonna do. Send me your fluoro. Send me the fluoro that you guys think that you have a lot of confidence in, or your mono that you have a lot of confidence in, and we're gonna test it on our abrasion tester, and we're gonna go back and forth, and we're gonna see, and we'll do it live, and we're gonna show everybody the results of it, and then I'll give you the results too to see if it's actually what we think it is. That's all. Kite baits, bridling bait. I did 2 of those videos this year where I showed people how I used to bridle baits. I don't bridle baits anymore, and how to rig a kite bait. Okay, for bait fishing. Hooks versus leverage, the size of the hooks, the type of hooks versus the leverage that can either ruin a hook or end you in disaster, or you can land a fish no matter where it's hooked based on the strength of the hook. There's certain hooks. I'll give you a quick example. Right? This is the Hoogie Pro Tail. Caught a lot of fish on this lure. If you hook the fish in the bone right here, and this hook doesn't have the full meat in the base of it here, and now this hook is bending because you're pulling this way, and then this hook only has this much in the fish and it's pulling this way, this hook's probably going to stray down and snap. Okay, but if it's all the way down into the meat here, you could probably fight this fish forever on this hook. So that's what I mean about hook placement, torque, and leverage. Totally different. Jigging length versus casting length of a leader. Why we use longer leaders on the jigging rods versus the casting rods. It might sound simple and it might sound easy to the guys that have been doing it for a long time. But when I first started, I didn't understand it either, and I didn't know why. We want to go over that. Knot tests. We want to do more knot tests. Kite rod explanation. Why we use a specific kite rod versus a regular rod with a kite on it. Jigging length. Long, because we're not casting. That's another one. Reasons 1, 2, 3, 4 that we use mono versus fluorocarbon. Okay. Differences in 3 different leaders. Save your energy. Don't grip tight on the rod. That's one of the ones we just did. What can splice into what? That was another big one, but we really weren't sure of when we first started either. So you have a certain pound test, Cortland C16 hollow, and I'm like, what can I splice into that it's going to hold, right? That's another one. We're going to go over all those differences in diameters and what can go into it and why and how far up and where you'll be safe and where you might not be safe. Don't look at the reel. This is another big one I see all the time. When guys are fighting giants on the big reels, the 80s and the 130s, they're always looking at the reel, right? When they're fighting the giants, does nothing looking at the reel. Look at the rod tip, right? The reel does nothing. The rod tip, once the rod tip starts coming up, you reel down. Looking at the reel doesn't give you any sign, doesn't give you any indication on what you need to do. The clicker, if the clicker is still on, that's going to tell you what you need to do while you're looking at the rod tip, right? The difference in the mono leader diameter versus fluoro diameter comparison. Harpoon basket. I thought of this one this year. The harpoon basket and the ball that goes on the end of your harpoon basket. We're going to figure that out because when I first started, people said you gotta use this distance harpoon line in your basket for your harpoon. I was like, there's no way a fish is going to take all that. boy, was I wrong. Okay? So I just want to go over quick the basket that I use, the ball that I use, the length of harpoon line that I use, right? And that whole setup, you know. How I pull fish into the boat, the best way to get fish into the boat, save your back. I just had a triple hernia surgery done a week ago. I'm still in a little bit of pain, real tight down here. So that might have been one of the reasons why I had to go through that surgery, because I didn't listen to myself years ago. Here's another one. Notice it this year, clients talking to me. Know your fish finder, know your machines and what they're reading, small versus giants, okay? A lot of the time when you're in deep water, 200, 300, 400 feet, your tuna will mark just like striped bass do in 20 or 30 feet of water, right? And then you'll know if it's giants versus smalls in that same depth based on what you're reading. So know your machine. We're gonna go over that one too, and I'm gonna show you specific examples on my machine of what is giants and what is small fish. Not only by the way that they act and they're showing themselves on the screen in their schooling fashion, but size and your gains too. Your gains are very, very important. Tuna regulations and what license to buy. That was always one that confused me in the beginning too. So we're gonna go over that. Build our wind on, where is it? This right here. So this is what I use to tie my wind-ons with. So I just want to do a little quick one for you guys, because instead of buying one for $100, $150, we can make this for about $5. So let's make one of these. All right, I'm gonna show you guys how to make that. Get that out of the way for you guys. And then let's see, a simple bait leader. Let's just make a simple bait leader ready to go. So what you do is you go out with a Ziploc and you have 4 or 5 bait leaders in the Ziploc ready to go, right? Let's just make one up. Very simple. And I repeated myself here, leader length for jigging versus spinning. Now this list, I might repeat myself a little bit. This is just what I think. I'm constantly thinking about what I can help you guys with. Cast outside the feed. This is another big one. So we're gonna do one, I think I might do this one this week because I have a bunch of videos that are gonna be perfect. Where I want you guys to cast when you roll up to feeding fish, right? Will they hit everywhere? Probably. But the best place to cast where you're not gonna get tangled with a person, with another fisherman, on a bird, or anything else, and let's let your lure stand out and not get mixed up in the melee, which these feeds can tend to be. If the fish are moving, cast in the direction where they were going. Know the braid, that's a repeat. There is luck involved in all of this. Let's face it, there's a luck involved in all this. Cast matters. Okay, one of the things I've always said is the lure is great. We all use really good lures, high quality lures, but I don't care what color you're using or what size you're using. Where you're using it is more important than what you're using, okay? Big doesn't mean smarter. Just because it's a giant doesn't mean it's normally smarter than a small one. It might have seen more stuff throughout its life, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's smarter. They're just big mackerel, okay? Let's face it. Don't let them think, don't let tuna fool you into thinking it's smart as a human. It's not, right? It's just a tuna. You know, they're opportunistic feeders. Intel is key. If you have intel, intel is key, but know who you're talking to and know their experience level and know what they think too, okay? Very, very, very important. Double and triple check everything all the time until you're very, very confident in what you're doing. Double and triple check everything that you have in your setup. They're not leader shy. There might be real select times where they might be leader shy, but in general, if you're using 150, 130 is not gonna make it better, and 170 is not gonna make a difference either. You're talking at a 0.001 difference in diameter. The fish isn't gonna notice that. Your drag on your spinning reel is almost unknown versus your conventional reels. Patience is key, and it's also a curse. Always try to gaff close to the head, never in the tail. What happens when a fish is tail wrapped? What do we do, right? And how do we know it's tail wrapped? Let's see, this. That's it. I have 2 more lists sitting around here somewhere, but those are the videos that we want to figure out how to get to you guys, and we want to do those in a timely but very efficient manner, right? All right, let me know, and then we're gonna figure. Spring's gonna come soon. We have all the shows coming up. We have Castafari, we have Edison, and we have Rhode Island coming up. So hopefully we'll see you guys at all those shows. But I'm gonna get this video out to everybody in an email because I want people to know what's in store for the website in the next couple of months. All right, guys, I will see you soon. Thanks.